it is wonderful to be back with you. Last year I had a chance to talk about why Obamacare is wrong for America. And today, after hearing Senator Santorum and the excitement in this room, I can hear from all of you that that argument is still as important as it's ever been, and that health care piece of legislation is less popular with Americans than it has ever been before. Today we're going to talk, however, about another vitally important issue, and that's Washington's runaway spending, and what is a fundamental step in getting it under control, which of course is a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. We are now entering year 4 of the Obama economy. In the Obama economy, Washington's debt is now $15.3 trillion. It's 43% higher than when President Obama took office. Before there ever was a President Obama, remember the good old days, we had never had an annual budget deficit of more than $459 billion. Well, over the 4 years of his term, we will never see a deficit of less than $1 trillion. That is why, for the safety and the security and the prosperity of this country, this has to be his only term. People ask, where did all the spending come from? Where did the money go? And of course, there was first Obamacare, $1 trillion worth of broken promises, accounting gimmicks, budget tricks that are actually making it harder and more expensive for private sector businesses to create jobs. What we're seeing is under this health care plan, I admit a lot of town meetings, go visit with people. Any place I go, I say, how many of you under the health care law, the one that was supposed to cut costs and make it easier and cheaper and all of those things, how many of you think you're going to actually pay more for health care under Obamacare? Every hand goes up, just as it did here. And then you say, how many of you believe that the quality and availability of your own care is going to go down? And every hand goes up. That's not what the American people want, it's not what they expect, and it is not what they will accept. And then, of course, where else did the money go? Well, the so-called stimulus program. $800 billion, money going to companies like Solyndra, which was a favorite of one of the president's big political donors. Remember all those so-called shovel-ready projects? Well, all he did was shovel billions of dollars out the door, a mountain of debt on the next generation. The president got absolutely everything he wanted in the first 2 years of his administration. He passed everything he wanted with a Democrat-controlled House, the Democrat-controlled Senate, and we all know how that has worked out. 13 million Americans out of work, unemployment still above 8%, 36 months in a row. Just last week, the Congressional Budget Office came out saying that unemployment is actually going to get worse this year and even worse next year. To me, it's not too complicated. President Obama has failed because his only answers are higher taxes, more spending, and bigger government. We have a better idea. Reduce spending, reform taxes, and remove Obama. So what's he have planned for this year? Well, we don't know. We haven't seen his budget. Anybody here seen his budget? The law said it was supposed to come out last Monday. We haven't seen it, but I'll tell you one thing. When he finally comes out with it, it will not be a balanced budget. He has never submitted a balanced budget. The budget he submitted last year was so outrageous that Harry Reid wouldn't bring it up for a vote, so Mitch McConnell brought it up for a vote. Nobody voted for it. None of the Democrats voted for it. None of the Republicans voted for it. It failed 0 to 97 in the Senate. Now, that's saying something. It's now been over 1,000 days since the Democrats have passed a budget in the Senate. That's what we've gotten under the Obama economy. So the question we have today is, do we need a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution? And the answer is yes, of course we do. We've tried before. In 1982, the Senate actually passed the amendment, and it just fell short in the House. At that time, the total debt was $1.1 trillion. They came back again in 1997 under the leadership of Orrin Hatch from Utah when the Senate failed again by one vote to pass an amendment. At that time, the debt was $5 trillion. Today, we're looking at a $15 trillion debt. I would think even Obama's economic advisors would realize what a threat this is to our security and to our future. Now, the Democrats think it's a taxing problem. They think that we're not taxed enough. It is a spending problem. Our problem is not that we're taxed too little, it's that we spend too much. And the American people get it. 74% believe we need a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. I hear it back in Wyoming every weekend. I'll be there later this evening. A constituent of mine from Casper wrote a letter. He said, in Wyoming, we don't spend more than we make. He said to do anything else would label one a fool. Well, we know what we have to do with our families. We know what our states do. Of course, conservative governors have been doing it and doing it right. Look at Indiana, Ohio, New Jersey, Florida, and back home in Wyoming. All of these governors across the country are doing it right. Wyoming's earned the reputation of being a great state, and we got 6 young conservatives here from the University of Wyoming today joining the crowd. And they are here, and they will tell you that we do it right because we believe in very low taxes, we believe in reasonable regulations, and every year by law we have to balance our budget at home in the state of Wyoming. That's why we're rated so highly, and that's why all of us believe it's so very important to have a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. Now, 30 years ago, 1982, Ronald Reagan gave a speech on the steps of the Capitol, and he was a favorite at CPAC. He loved CPAC, and CPAC loved Ronald Reagan. This is what he told the crowd. He said, there are elitists. I mean, you can hear him saying this. He said, there are elitists who resent Americans like yourselves getting involved in the serious business of changing the Constitution. He said, but our Constitution was not written to protect the government from its people. It was written to protect the people from their government. That's 30 years ago. The solutions today are the same. A balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, and as he also said, all of them are not the same. A balanced budget that caps spending as a share of the economy, and we can get into a discussion of that, and requires supermajorities of both houses of Congress to either run a deficit or to raise taxes. We just can't let a balanced budget requirement become what I believe the Democrats would want it to be, an excuse for the Democrats to raise taxes and just keep on spending. That's the reason I co-sponsored the Senate Republican plan, which does all of these things, and I will tell you all 47 members of the Republicans in the Senate, all 47 Republicans in the Senate have co-sponsored that. It's an amendment that has teeth. It's an amendment that we need. It's an amendment whose time has come. It also tells you why we need a majority of Republicans in the United States Senate, and for that we are relying on each and every one of you to go home and make sure we elect a Republican majority for the Senate. Look, Barack Obama may have inherited a tough situation, but he has made it worse. And with ideas like a balanced budget amendment and with the hard work of everyone in this room, I believe we can overcome the Obama economy, and we can start things better for a strong and prosperous America. I look forward to the discussion. Thanks so much for letting me be with you today. Thank you.